Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everybody. Today we're going right into a pretty big story. It's the New York Times. They're suing OpenAI and Microsoft, and I'm sure as folks interested in AI, you know all about this.
Yeah, and there's so much being said about it. But the sources we've got today, they take a really interesting angle. They push back on the Times' argument. They see this connection between how AI learns and how we as humans get creative.
Yeah, like uncomfortable similarities almost.
Yeah.
And that's what we're diving into today. We're going to pack this idea that even though AI is working at this crazy scale, it might actually be learning in ways that are pretty fundamental to, well, how humans learn and create. The source makes this point right off the bat. Human creators don't just appear out of thin air.
Right, and that's so important. I mean, look around. So much of what we think of as original is built on what came before. They even use this example about how DC Comics superheroes, Superman and Wonder Woman, they actually kind of echo ancient Greek myths. Superman's kind of like Zeus, Wonder Woman's got that Athena vibe, and Aquaman is like Poseidon, all these echoes.
It's wild, right? And that's what they're getting at. The source argues that it's kind of how these big language models work, too. They take in tons of information, see the patterns, and make something new. It's not just copying. It's about understanding how things connect. Like, think about a novelist who's read hundreds of books. All those books, they shape the way they write, their style, the words they choose. But we don't call that plagiarism. So what they're saying is both humans and AI, they build on what's already out there.
And that takes us to this really important difference. Reference versus just straight up copying. The Times, their lawsuit, it's basically saying that using their stuff to train the AI is stealing. But the counter argument is the AI isn't just making copies, it's taking inspiration, picking up on the style, the structure, the patterns. If an AI writes something that sounds similar to what it learned from, well, it's kind of like a human writer showing their influences, still making something new in the end.
Now, you might be thinking, hold on, these AI companies, they're making money using this stuff without paying the original writers. And the Times definitely makes that point. But the source, it kind of flips that around. It points out that, hey, human creativity has always been connected to money. Think about publishing companies. They profit from writers, but those writers, they got their ideas from somewhere, right? Same with Hollywood. Big studios make bank on stories that use classic themes.
And what's super interesting is how this ties into what copyright is really all about, at least according to the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, it's about promoting the progress of science and useful arts. It's not just protecting individual creators, it's about the bigger picture. The argument here is that letting AI learn from existing work could actually help us move forward. It can drive innovation and be a good thing for the economy.
Now let's talk about something you hear a lot. Sometimes AI just spits out an exact copy of something. The source makes a really interesting point about that. They say it usually happens because of what the user asks the AI to do. It's not some built-in flaw in the AI itself. Like, think of a hammer, right? You can build a house with it, but you can also use it to do something bad.
Yeah.
It's the user, not the tool.
And from a legal point of view, there's this really interesting case that relates to all of this. Sony versus Universal Studios, back in 1984. The Supreme Court, they ruled that VCRs were legal. Why? Because even though people could use them to copy movies illegally, they also had tons of uses that were perfectly fine. This case could be important for AI companies because it sets up a way of thinking about technology. Yeah, there might be some negative uses, but if the tech itself has a lot of good uses, it might be okay.
So, listeners, here's what you got to take away from all this. Our sources today, they argue that AI learns kind of like how humans get creative. It takes in information, it builds on that knowledge, and it makes something new. And legally, that might actually hold up in court, even with all the copyright stuff going on.
It really makes you think, though, right? Like, in this world where AI is getting smarter and smarter, how do we need to change the way we think about copyright? How do we protect what people create while still letting technology move us forward? It's a tough question, but it's something we got to figure out.